Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. My name is Sarah and I'm married to Mark, and we have been homeschooling for 21 years, I think. It's been a long time. So anyway, I am doing a video today because I had someone ask on one of my other videos if I have all of the children do Algebra 1, 2, geometry, higher math, what does that look like in our family? And for our family, we continue our child's progress through where they are. There are a lot of kids, not a lot, there are kids in public school who do not do well in math because they didn't totally understand first grade math. So when they went on to second grade math, they had gaps or areas that they didn't understand. So they go on to third grade math and they're getting certain concepts, but there's certain things that they totally missed beforehand, and they can't go back and learn those things because how the curriculum is set up, you keep going forward. In homeschooling, I do not worry about finishing the first grade curriculum within a year's time. So maybe first grade takes a child 6 months and we move on to the next book. I've had a couple kids who have flown through certain courses in math. Then I might have another child who it takes 1.5 years or 2 years to complete a program, but they're actually leaving, let's say, 6th grade math. Let's say it takes them till the end of 7th grade to finish the 6th grade math book. But if we keep going in this slow progression of where the child is, they will actually know more at the end of 6th grade math at the end of 7th grade than the child who's been put through, who missed things along the way and is really struggling to learn their math. I don't know if that's making sense, but they have all the key components to math and understand why math works. So it's easier for them when they see a new math concept to understand what's being talked about because they're not missing pieces. So we do not necessarily do, like I took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Other 8th graders took pre-algebra. So this even happens within public school where some kids will take certain math and some kids will take other math. I don't know what else was offered for other kids. I think in my high school, but maybe it was for my college, you had to do Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. I'm not sure if that was a high school requirement or the college I was looking to go into. I ended up also taking advanced math when I was in school. I wasn't really a big fan of math, but it came easily to me. So for my kids, if they're in 8th grade and do Algebra 1, if they're in 9th grade and do Algebra, if they're in 10th grade, if they are in 12th grade and that's where they are is Algebra 1, we're going to do Algebra 1 because it doesn't make sense to teach a child advanced math if they never really got algebra or Algebra 2. I will tell you, I struggled with advanced math in high school because my geometry teacher was really bad and my entire class actually failed, including the girl who was salutatorian for our school. Maybe she didn't fail, but she got a bad grade. But most of the class failed. Like I got a 57 as my final grade in that class because he did not teach us math very well. Like he didn't actually teach us much at all. He wanted us to just figure it out from the book, and that wasn't well. It was a problem. It wasn't just me. But anyway, we want the kids to move through where they are at their pace because it's much better that they understand why math works, not just that they can say, oh, I finished this book. So I had someone write to me recently asking, they have a 14-year-old who just does not enjoy math, doesn't know what they want to do with their future. What would you do for math at this point? By the way, if you share with me, asking me a question on my YouTube comments where everyone can see it, I will give those distinguishing details because it's already written on a comment in my video. If you write to me privately on the Herding Little Cows Facebook, or Sarah Cowperthwaite is my Facebook. If you write me a private message, I will not disclose details, because I don't want to give away your privacy if you don't choose to do that. But if you're writing publicly, I'm going to let people know what I'm answering. So anyway, what I would do with a 14-year-old who isn't that interested in math is I would actually take a step back. I would probably take a month off from regular math learning, and I would show the child where math is used in the real world. Because I think a big part of math in particular is students don't understand that math is being used every day. When you take this break, you can choose, like I would choose, depending on which child I was taking this break for, on whether I would have them continue like basic math flashcard type work. We use a program online called Extra Math, and it might have a charge now. I've been doing it for so long that we don't have a charge, but I've noticed I can't get to all the access points on there. So I'm not really sure, but Extra Math is just, it asks you 7 plus 8, and then you put your answer, and it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So using something like that, even in this time out, I think it's good. It's always challenges me when I do one of those things, because I don't use, like I use math daily, but I don't do my math facts often. And so it's good practice. So you might want to keep it up with this child. You may not, I don't know. But what I would do is go to the library, look in the book section where they have math books. I don't remember what the Dewey Decimal number is, but if you go to the library and ask for the nonfiction math books, there are a lot of books out there that show different games or activities you can do at home that will use math concepts. And some of those are for younger children, some of those are for older children. Another thing I would do is, if you're a family that uses screens, is I would watch people using math in real life. So some of the things that I wrote down. Practical Engineering is a website that we really like. The guy, I don't know, he's a father, like a husband and father. I don't know if he's a Christian, but I haven't heard things on there that I don't agree with. But it's all about how engineering works in the real world. That's why it's called Practical Engineering. And so it talks, like we watched one about water towers and how water towers help keep the water level like steady throughout the town. I thought water towers were to store water in case there was like a power outage. But no, the water tower is filling up every day, and it's getting drained, not fully, but it's getting drained every day as there's increases in the water that the pumps can't keep up with. The water tower fills in that gap. I didn't know that. He talks about dams. He talks about water runoff like during a drought. He talks about the bypasses that they'll make like over a highway for animals to run over. He's got a ton of videos about a lot of different stuff, and it shows how math is used in the real world. Another website I would use is called Smarter Every Day. Like, it's a YouTube channel, and that guy is a Christian. He works like rocket science type stuff, but he is just so excited about science. And so sometimes you see more of the science aspect on his channel, but sometimes he has ones that are very math heavy, because science and math go hand in hand. So he did one where they made like a baseball cannon, I think they called it. And he was actually like doing the algorithms of that. So while you're not learning how to do math on his page, you're learning why math is important or how math is used in the real world. Some other things that I would study out with my child to remind them how much math is used in the real world. Budgeting. So having your child help you make the grocery budget, having your child help pay the bills, maybe help write out the check, go through your like online bank statement and help like balance your checkbook. Maybe it's giving your child, I know some people don't want to do this, but like giving your child just access to your books and have them help you figure out what bills need to be paid when. Another type job that uses a lot of math is in medicine. So like a nurse or doctor needing to calculate medication and how much do I give based on this child's weight, how much do I give? And yes, there's like calculator things out there that do that, but you need to know, because if the calculator is wrong, the nurse needs to know, oh, that shouldn't be 300. That probably is 30. Let me redo that calculation, because they're like, people's lives are in their hands. Farming. There's a lot of math involved in like feed ratios for animals. How much protein versus how much fat do I give, and what do I get as return? Like, how big do the chickens get, or how much milk does the cow give? Also crop yield. How much water or fertilizer do I need to put on this? How much, like my uncle farms soybeans and corn. So what is the, like the not humidity, but the water content, because he gets a better price if it's drier or wetter, depending. And then he can go and sell it at the silo. But or the green, when he goes there, they measure that with their machines. And so he needs to know it at home so he knows when's the best time to take it to sell. So that's all very math heavy. Other things you can look up, like the history of how they figured out gravity or the circumference of the earth or how far away stars are. That type of thing is all very math heavy. Also, finding random YouTube videos. These are things, when we do random YouTube videos, I'm sitting and watching with a child. So if I can turn it off at any point that I want to, if it's not okay. We have certain channels that I let the kids watch because I've watched it enough that I feel like it's safe. But certain channels, like if I'm just randomly looking this up, I sit and watch with them to make sure that we can discuss anything that's said, or we can just turn it off. But things like abacus, we looked up a video, I don't know, this was like a month ago, 6 months ago, but we found a video about the abacus and how each number is, like how they do the abacus and how you can do multiples, like multiplying on them and stuff. It was very interesting, very confusing for me. I'd have to watch it a couple more times. We also watched something that was, now I forget what it's called, but it was like a grid and it was showing how you counted up on the grid, and it was very interesting. So that type of thing to just show. Another thing in like ours, I'm trying to think of things from our state. You can look for things in your own state, but like boating and lobstering, there's a lot of math that needs to be done with like longitudes, latitudes. I know that goes into geography and stuff like that, but like finding where your buoys are, finding the depth and how much rope you need. Like there's all kinds of stuff out there. So just look around. So for your student, I'd be introducing them to areas that use math, see what math might be interesting to them, and then go with that. Another thing I would do is I would probably find a cheap math book on like Amazon or something like that, that has like math puzzle type things that you guys could do together, and you could give him as much, push him as hard as you think he can go on it. But find a math puzzle that maybe is even a little below where you think he is, so that he feels a sense of accomplishment, but he's enjoying it as well. I have, so we have Josiah, and he's 12, but he has epilepsy and cerebral palsy. And so he's not quite at grade level for everything. He's definitely past first grade, but I found this first grade math workbook that I had here at home, and it has things with like symmetry and coloring the picture to match the other side, or like codes to break, you know, different graphing things. So they're definitely easier. Like he doesn't have to do a lot of brain work, but he has to use his brain to do it, if that makes sense. And so it's a good, he feels accomplished. He did it and it's not stressing him out, but he's still gaining math concepts, if that makes sense. So those are the things that I would do. And then once you find out what he's interested in, see if you can find, like maybe some videos online that would help explain what math he's doing. So maybe getting a curriculum that has math, like videos explaining it, or maybe just finding things that help him. There's a lot of like math games online and stuff like that. So if you have more questions, the viewer who asked me, please ask below and I'll try to answer more. This same thing can be done. I'm not going to go into as much detail, but this same thing can be done if your child is struggling, or it's the hard part of your day and you're trying to kind of take a step back and let your child kind of relearn the love of that subject. So a couple different things. I was looking at science. Smarter Every Day, I already mentioned. The Mandelbrot set, that would be math too. So if you were watching the math part just above, Mandelbrot set is numbers that were discovered. God made math around us. And Jason Lisle, L-I-S-L-E, does a very good talk on the Mandelbrot set. And if you graph it out on a computer, it makes these really beautiful patterns, and God's behind all of that math. We just discovered it. God's behind it, and he explains it much better than I do. But that's really interesting to get people to think about numbers. Some other things, this would be math and science, but weather. the weather patterns would be science, like how things move, but then calculating like the wind speed or precipitation or how the temperature is going to change. All of that is science and math combined. Meteorology is a really interesting study. I studied it as a freshman in high school, and it's really neat that you can figure out what's going to happen. I mean, of course, it's not exactly accurate, but you can see patterns to see what's going to happen 7 days from now from things that are going on around the world. And that's just really interesting. A couple other websites to use for science. Again, there's overlap between science, history, and math, but Answers in Genesis, ICR, Institute for Creation Research, and Biblical Science Institute are all things that give science from a Christian worldview, but touch a lot of different areas of science, and it's very interesting. Something I would suggest for history is Expedition Bible, which is a, it's called like archaeology from a Christian perspective. And while I may not agree with him in every aspect, I really enjoy watching him. He's very thorough in what he says, and he's interesting enough to keep our younger ones interested. So like my 7-year-old really likes it, but up to us adults learning something also. So that's Expedition Bible. If your child is struggling with reading or language arts, which is another big topic we have to cover. If you are, like, again, take a step back, like I was saying about the math, take a step back for a little while. Don't continue making them do the book reports and all of that stuff. Some kids might love those. I'm talking about a child who's struggling in this subject. Make reading fun again. Make learning language fun again. So maybe it's taking the month off and doing audiobooks and not asking them details about every single thing that was in the book. Just letting them listen and say, hey, what was your favorite part of that? And just talking through it. Letting them listen for enjoyment instead of this is an assignment can help with that reading. We read a book in high school. I don't even remember what it's about, so I'm not telling your students to read it. The book was called Ethan Frome, and there was a cat in a couple pages of the book. We spent 3 months studying that cat, and all I remember is that the cat brought on doom and gloom. But we spent 3 months studying that cat, and it was so boring, and it made me hate that book. Even though that book might be great, I don't remember the book at all because all I remember is the cat. So I would say audiobooks, maybe movies, because somebody had to write the lines for that movie. And so some of those movies that have great, lines, some of those classic movies, maybe it's going to a play or, reading through a play. That's all language arts. Maybe it's, I don't know, just letting them read books, even if they're below their grade level, but letting them read books without the thought that you're going to be testing them on them. That's a big thing, is a lot of parents want to make sure that their kids know the information, which I'm not saying that that's bad, but sometimes it causes the child to be so stressed out that I'm going to get a bad grade, I'm not going to remember this information, that they forget their love of reading. So that was the end of my video. I'll see you guys next time on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God.